Sindoor is only paused. So in a sense, the call to action, while it can happen anytime, while we hope war doesn't happen, but I think the navies have always to be prepared. We have seen that when it comes to critical technologies, we can't depend on anyone anymore.
Indian Navy has been on quite an induction spree recently, with three new ships, in fact, joining in. And today, as we speak, even the Mahendragiri has been commissioned, INS Mahendragiri now. How do these additions strengthen the Navy, and what do they say about India's growing capabilities as an indigenous shipbuilding nation as well? Hello and welcome to Meluha Maritime. I'm Palak Sharma, and this is Maritime Conversations in collaboration with Diplomacy, where we take a closer look and unpack all the major developments shaping the maritime domain and what they mean for India and the region. What are the recent happenings? We'll be talking about that. And joining me today is Commodore Srikant Kesnoor, founder Meluha Maritime. He has served as a distinguished naval officer and he's a naval historian as well, and of course, a maritime expert with deep experience in the Indian Ocean region and maritime strategy. Commodore Kesnoor, as always, it's wonderful to have you with us, and it's a pleasure that we'll be decoding some of the important happenings in the maritime domain today.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be here today and good to be speaking to you, Palak.
Welcome, and I'm going to start with my first question. I'm going to begin with the big picture. India has a new Navy chief in the chair. As he takes over the helm, what do you think are some of the major challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of him, and what should we be watching out in this new tenure?
Yes, I think you're right. This has been a period of transition in higher defense setup in India. You had the Navy chief take over, end of May. You had the Army chief take over just a few days ago, and you have had a new CDS. So the higher defense management, certainly there have been some changes. As far as the Chief of Naval Staff is concerned, Admiral Krishna Swaminathan, as I have brought out in an article elsewhere, which is also on our website, he's a very highly a respected professional. He's extremely well regarded, but it is a busy chair, and he will have his share of challenges and opportunities. As I see it, the three or four things confronting him. First, at the operational level, I think given the volatile situation in the neighborhood that is persisting, he will need to ensure that, as they say, keep the powder dry in respect of the Navy. Sindoor is only paused. So, in a sense, the call to action, while it can happen anytime, while we hope war doesn't happen, but I think the navies have always to be prepared, and given the current situation, I think he has to ensure a very high level of readiness, both with regard to our western neighbor in the immediate context, and with regard to what is happening in West Asia and elsewhere. That apart, I see technology infusion. Huge amount of changes are happening in the scientific and technological world. Lots of current battles, whether it is Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and more recent ones between US, Israel, and Iran, are giving a lot of lessons with regard to both tactics, technology, strategy. And I'm sure somewhere these are being studied and absorbed. But how do new infusions, how do new technologies get absorbed? And this has to be done increasingly in a making in India context, because I think we have seen that when it comes to critical technologies, we can't depend on anyone anymore. So that's the second challenge: technology absorption and infusion against a make in India sort of background or philosophy undergirding that. The third is structurally. I think there has been a great sort of movement towards jointness, towards integration. That's sort of the new mantra. Doctrinally, people-wise, acquisitions-wise, how the Indian Armed Forces need to go towards greater jointness and have greater level of integration at various echelons. So I think these are some of his challenges. But I would argue that very fortunately the Navy has structures for all of this. I mean, we are very good at making in India. Our science and technology base is very good, and we have sort of. I would suggest that we have been in favor of jointness and integration and a lot of structures. So I think
Mhm.
we have the climate that ensures that these things will fall into place. And at the same time, he has to continue with the traditional navy's, let's say, charter of roles, whether it is maritime diplomacy, whether it is humanitarian assistance, disaster relief, whether is the regional and global role that navies have by virtue of their character. I think all of that has to be preserved, nurtured, and nourished. And therefore, we can talk separately, but new ships recently being commissioned, all of
Right.
that adds to the feel good factor. But yes, I think he has a canvas ahead of him, and how he colors it largely depends upon how the Navy and his team sees it. But this is how I would think. Uh, are his main challenges and opportunities.
Right. So a lot of new things also on his platter as chief. But since you mentioned West Asia, I'd like to touch upon that also briefly. We've seen tensions rise and then ease and then rise again recently, particularly around Iran. So from a maritime perspective, Commodore Kesnur, how do you read these developments? How concerned should we be about their impact on shipping, trade routes, and the wider Indian Ocean region? Of course, also talking about maritime security.
In a somewhat lighter vein, this is both a good and a bad time for geopolitical experts and commentators, because while there's much to talk and discuss on, I think any sort of predictions are dangerous. In current atmosphere, I suppose the only thing we can say is certain is a huge level of uncertainty. Now you see, West Asia has been at best of times a very very volatile region, but at the same time it's a region wherein India has a lot of interest, and these interests, whether in terms of security of our energy flow, whether it is in diaspora, whether it's in our investments elsewhere, whether it is the long-standing relations we have had with countries in this region. All of them are very important to India, and therefore their management, so that we have stable structures without sort of getting involved in their conflicts. It has been one of India's biggest foreign policy challenges. Now, how does the Navy come in? Look, it's a very kind of direct, palpable, physical manifestation of India's power in those places. So when you deploy your naval ships there, in a way that you want to assure, say, India's energy flows, or you want to ensure that in case there is a crisis, you are able to respond. But yet at the same time, you are not a part of the immediate war. So I think naval ships will continue to be forward deployed wherever the Navy determines they can best be deployed. And at the same time, there's a wide range of maritime security challenges, whether it is piracy, whether it is proxy and non-state actors, and you see the Red Sea, Western Arabian Sea, the Gulf of Eden, the Gulf region. In some ways, they're all sort of contiguous, where one threat can move from one place to another, or situations can in one region can manifest themselves in another region. So the Indian Navy has its task cut out in terms of having our ships forward deployed to attend to a range of missions. And I think very recently, our ships have been involved in putting down piracy, rescuing some people caught elsewhere, in extracting a non-fired missile and saving a ship. So these are the sort of non-glamorous things that happen, but the Navy is, constantly involved. Um, Now we know, for example, that West Asia. We don't know if war will resume tomorrow. I mean, if you see the statements emanating today from President Trump and the Iranian side, they are talks are off and on. Everyone is threatening to go back to what was there before. Yet, whether they have the appetite for a full time war, we don't know. India would want supply chain resilience. India would want regular energy flows, and you would hope for the best there. But we have been through this crisis before. We know pretty much what to do, and therefore the Navy will have a role to play should the situation exacerbate. At the same time, it would have a role to play in ensuring that uh, they are stable, and also in ensuring that our own interests there are preserved. So that's how I see the Navy continuing to play a role in West Asia.
Absolutely. And since we are talking about that India's role in what is happening right now, I'd also like to touch upon the recent inductions. The Indian Navy has been on quite an induction spree recently, with three new ships, in fact, joining in. And today, as we speak, even the Mahendragiri has been commissioned, INS Mahendragiri now. So, for our viewers, if you could put this in perspective for us, how do these additions strengthen the Navy, and what do they say about India's growing capabilities as an indigenous shipbuilding nation as well? Because, right now, Make in India is on its prime. We are talking about it a lot, and indigenization in India, especially in the maritime domain, has really been the talk.
Yes, and Palak, this demands a somewhat more elaborate answer, because you see, the Indian Navy has always prided itself on making in India. Our Make in India program, as I continue to say in various forums, begins in 1960 when we built the first small ship, the INS Ajay, and since then we have gone up in scales for magnitude to designing our own ships, and today we are amongst the 5 or 6 countries in the world that design and build their own aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines. And that's something really huge. That's something people all over the country need to be proud of. So against this background, the fact that we have been consistently been rolling out state of the art ships in different categories is, I think, something, as a Navy commentator, historian, something I feel very, very thrilled about. Now, you had three ships in June. This is the second time in the last 18 months. In Jan
Right.
25, you had three ships commissioned in Bombay, try commissioning as we call it, and now you have this in Calcutta. So you had three ships and three different kinds of ships. You had the Donagiri, which is the Nilgiri class guided missile stealth frigate. Then you had the Sanshodhak, which is advanced, a large survey vessel. And then you had Agre, which is a shallow water anti-submarine craft. So you have three different sorts of vessels, and all of them have a kind of characters. See, frigates are frontline, what we call as principal surface combatants. Survey ships are meant to map the oceans. India is amongst the world's leaders there. This talks about our advanced hydrographic capabilities. And the shallow water ASW craft is a specific kind of sea denial vehicle. So you're talking of three different dimensions of naval operations, so to speak. Now, what is special about each one of them? For example, Donagiri, at about 6.5, 7,000 tons and 150 meters, modular construction. It carries BrahMos, it carries Barak, it has a fantastic anti-submarine fit. So you're talking of very state of the art advanced ships, and that's the fifth The sixth one, as you brought out, Mahendragiri, is being commissioned today as we speak. And now that leaves only the seventh one, INS Vindhyagiri, to follow. So these add to your fleet strength hugely, and it's very significant that most of them or all of them are based in Vishakhapatnam, because now Vishakhapatnam, in a sense, is becoming as important, if not more, than your western ports and harbor. And as you look east, and as a lot of maritime diplomacy and your strategic imperatives manifest in the east, I think Vishakhapatnam, the force levels there will get bolstered. Now you come to Sanshodha. This is important at 3,500 tons nearly. It's a fairly heavy, it's advanced, of course, but it's a large survey vessel. The fourth and the final one of the Sandhaya class. Now again, these are very important. As I brought out, uh, we have some of the best standards. We do a lot of hydrography for friendly foreign countries. We are very well respected for our prowess in hydrography and in ocean surveying and mapping, and this is important for a range of reasons. And therefore, to have shipbuilding in that, with advanced, side scan sonar, echo sounders, mapping equipment, all that, and of course helicopters and boats that enable you to do surveys. That's very good. As far as Agra is concerned, it's a shallow water craft. Now, why do you need shallow water craft, ASW? Because your traditional ships, they find it difficult to operate in shallow water. Shallow waters, the underwater medium is a little bit more crowded, so their sonars don't operate with peak efficiency there. Agra has a different form of propulsion. It's water jet propulsion, so it is better able to operate in shallow waters. It has about 2.6, 2.7 meter draft, I think, and therefore, but at the same time equipped with anti-submarine rockets, torpedoes. So it makes for a very good, very effective anti-submarine warfare platform. Now, together, all of these, Palak, also talk about various other spin-offs. For example, in Mahendragiri, I understand that more than 200 medium and small enterprises have been involved, and that leads to direct employment of 4,000 plus people and indirect employment of 10,000 plus people. So you're talking of nation building, you're talking of creating an ecosystem for ship production in India. Our Prime Minister has continuously been emphasizing this as a strategic part, not to see it merely in terms of adding numbers to our Navy, but as a very strategic industry. And I think by doing well there, I mean, we are poised to, I think, induct 19 or 20 ships in this year. And that's very good. Though, of course, I hope that we continue to keep this assembly line going. We need to put in more orders very soon for a newer generation of destroyers and frigates. And I'm sure the planners are looking at that. So, all in all, a very, very happy augury and a good development for us.
Right, and since we are talking to you, I'll have to ask you this question. In fact, Prime Minister Modi's recent visit to Seychelles has once again brought the Western Indian Ocean also into focus. Now, you, sir, have served as the as India's advisor, defense advisor to Seychelles, and you're uniquely placed to answer this. So, I'm asking you, why do you think is Seychelles so strategically important to India? And what do visits like these tell us about India's engagement with other countries like Seychelles and Mauritius? Again, our Prime Minister has been taking quite some many visits, and since you know the country and that area so well, if you could just explain to our viewers what this really means at this point in time.
Absolutely, and for once, I may even, refer to our notes and all, because so many things have been done and achieved. And as far as Sessions is concerned, of course, I have a very, very fond affection. It has a special place for me. I, having been the defense advisor there when I was based in Nairobi, with simultaneous accreditation to Sessions. What is Seychelles? I think people just need to see it on the map or on the globe to realize how very strategically it is positioned. Now, very small cluster, 115 islands, a population of less than 1.5 lakh people, and a land area of 400, 500 square kilometers. That's all. But look at the EEZ, 1.3 million square kilometers. That's huge, right? That's almost
Right.
a two-third of our EEZ. And
Mm-hmm.
where is it placed? It is placed right straddling the sea lines of communication that come up to Asia, West Asia, and India, from Africa, from Atlantic. They converge there beautifully. So it is located in a very strategic place. Also, India and Seychelles have had very deep relationship. This visit marked the 50th anniversary of India-Seychelles relationship, beginning with 1976. And if my memory serves me right, Indian contingent was there from the first Independence Day onwards. I think we have been there every Independence Day with Indian Navy, Indian Army, or some contingent or some presence in some way. So India-Seychelles relations are very, very deep. And obviously, over a period of time, while they encompass a lot of issues, largely the focus has been on defense and maritime security. We have been a very strong partner, collaborative partner with them. Countries like Seychelles face, certain capability limitations, and I think, you know, by helping in their hydrography surveys, by doing hydrography surveys, by doing a lot of training, by giving them hardware at periodic intervals, and by having some of our military advisors posted there. I think, India and Seychelles reflect a very high level of trust in the military and maritime field. Specific to this visit, there was one ship, I think, PS petrol ship, less war, that we gave them, built in Goa shipyard, in addition to some ambulances, some utility vehicles, and sailing, laser radial sailing vessels. So this patrol craft is huge, and we've also helped to repair and maintain their other patrol ship, the Zoroaster. In addition, we have a Dornier aircraft stationed there for their, maritime surveillance program, and our ships are visiting there frequently. This
Right.
visit itself saw both, I think, INS Trikand and
Mm-hmm.
Ikshak, two ships of
Right.
the Indian Navy present there. There was a $175 million assistance. $125 million as a line of credit, and $50 million as a grant. And this is very, very
Mm.
significant, which
Right.
positions India as a very strong, good, stable partner with Seychelles. Now, one
Right.
other thing that bears a lot of emphasis. You see, Seychelles is a country that's very, very proud of its environmental record, and aspects
Mm.
like climate change, blue economy, maritime sovereignty. These are all very important to it, maritime
Mm-hmm.
economy. You see, when I was there, as you brought out defense advisor 2008 to 12,
Right.
piracy had peaked, and the impact of that on tourism, fishing, their principal industries was so pronounced that there was
Right.
genuine worry about how they will tackle it, and of course, genuine appreciation at how India helped them do it. So now, 15, 20 years later, when issues of blue economy, issues of sustainable use of oceans, use of ocean ecology and environment, use of maritime issues of maritime governance, all come into sharp focus. Seychelles needs friends like India, and India needs friends like Seychelles to commonly do some of these things. Therefore, the fact that it's a part of our solar alliance is important. Just as it is important to note, remember that Seychelles joined as a part of the Colombo Security Conclave last year,
Mm-hmm.
in November. So it became
Right.
the sixth member of the Colombo Security Conclave, wherein countries India, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Mauritius, and Seychelles can commonly sort of on a platform decide and see and face up to common challenges, threats, issues that obtain in the Indian Ocean region. I mean, there are lots of other issues. I don't want to get into that.
Right.
SIDS issues, satellite tracking, space and satellite cooperation and things like that. But when Prime Minister Modi said this is an ocean of opportunity, Indian Ocean, and remember he followed this visit with a similar visit in 2015 to Mauritius and Seychelles when he articulated the Sagar vision. Sagar has moved to
Mhm.
Mahasagar now. So when you talk of mutual and holistic advancement and security and growth for all, I think
Right.
it's an important formulation. It's a vision for us to convert that into a strategic objective, and this visit was hugely significant for that reason.
Thank you so much, Commodore Kesnur. Well, that has been a wonderful discussion so far. We are going to hit pause on this conversation for now because there's a lot more ground to cover, which we will do in our part two. So, catch us there in our next episode where we continue our discussion on the big maritime stories shaping our region. Continue to tune in to Miluha Maritime.